Hi guys, welcome back to part 2 of my IVF journey. So last video you guys heard about how my journey started, genetic testing, what we discovered, and how we realized that IVF was our only route. This video is basically about me officially starting the process, retrieval, and remember I gave you guys a hint at the end of the last video, which was something really crazy happened the day before my retrieval. So let's get right into the story. Okay guys, so at this point we've discovered that we had to go through IVF, right? So we had to start the process. So I just realized that last video I didn't explain, like I had to go through a saline sonogram, and the saline sonogram basically was to check my uterus to see how it looks in there, to see if there's any scarring, any polyps, any fibroids, right? So we did all of that. So I went in for my saline sonogram. Honestly, the saline sonogram isn't bad. You do feel a lot of cramping afterwards, but other than that, it was really smooth. My doctor actually, talked me throughout the whole process. He told me step by step what he was doing. That he was cleaning, and then he said he put the salt water in the catheter, and it filled up my uterus to see what is going on in there. Per my doctor's words, he said, "Wow, this is a perfect looking uterus. It could be in a textbook." I was like, what? The excitement over my face, I'm like, wow, that's great news. I mean, the emphasis, I was like, okay, that's funny. It was funny. But it was great news to hear that, okay, things in my womb was looking great. So let's move on to the next step. When can I start? So I basically started my retrieval process in November of 2019. So I got all the medications for that. My Gono-F, my Menopur, I mean, of course, the other equipment, which I'm gonna put in a little picture here. Of course, the other equipment was my, the sharp container, the gauzes, all the syringes, just everything that you need for this process. Now, when I got all of the medications, because I remember I called up my specialty pharmacy, which was CVS specialty, and they were like, okay, I mean, I paid for the medication, everything, and they were telling me they were overnighting it UPS, and it came, and I wasn't expecting it to be so much. I mean, it was a lot. I was like, damn, you fill a whole dining table with everything that you had. I'm exaggerating, but it was a lot. It really was a lot. After that, my nurse basically put me on a schedule. Started off with birth control, and that was to kind of get my period regulated. So now they're altering my whole cycle overall with the birth control. And then after I finished my birth control, that's when she said, okay, you're gonna start with your Gono-F. So I started with my Gono-F, and that one wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. I just had to wind up the thing. I think mine was like 100, right? I just had to wind it up and then inject myself submuscular. So it really wasn't bad. The Menopur, on the other hand, and I know a lot of women that can relate to this, wow, that thing burns. Talk about, I felt like I was a nurse at the end, or a phlebotomist. Let me put it the right, the people that draw blood. I felt like I was a phlebotomist at the end of this whole process, because I was drawing up medication in syringes, just dialing up everything. I'm like, wow, I'm a pro now. You don't really expect yourself to have to inject yourself with these things. They send me videos on basically how to do every single thing. So I followed those videos step by step by step on how, and made sure I did it right. And I did pretty well. I did, and after a while, practicing makes perfect. You get used to it. So I started the journey, and I started to do my medications. The good news, and it's like I said, it's always good to have women around you that are going through the same thing as you. That way you can talk and relate. The irony of it is, my tech that for my appointments, my sonogram tech, she literally was going through the same thing I was. She was a little bit ahead of me in terms of within the month, I guess basically when she started. But we got to talk and compare a lot. So every time I went to my appointment, her and I would click, we would conversate. She would tell me what she's doing at the moment. I would tell her how I'm feeling, everything. And you know how a lot of texts, and I don't know if you guys deal with this on your end, a lot of texts, their first thing is to say, oh, the doctor will talk to you. They don't really communicate how your follicles are doing or anything like that. They will always tell you, oh, we'll give you a call back and let you know. Like, no, she was down to earth, and she actually just communicated with me regardless because we had that kind of vibe. I didn't really have to force or push or ask too many questions because she just was fluent with me. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I love this girl. So literally, as my process was going on, I remember her and I was having a conversation, and she was like, when she started her shots, her neighbor was a nurse, and she was telling her neighbor, can you come do my shots? She said when it came down time for her to start, the neighbor all of a sudden had to work all the time. I'm like, so she left you hanging? I was cracking up in the room. I was like, there's no way. She's like, yeah, so I had to do it myself. And then she said, I did not watch the video. She said, girl, do not take me as an example. I said, what you mean you didn't watch the videos? She goes, when it came to the Ghana F, she said she winded up. She didn't realize she had to hold down the button and wait for it to go to 0. She thought that you just put it in, click, and then you take it out. So she said once she realized that, she looked at the thing and it still said she had 100 left because she had to take a little bit more than me. She realized she had to stick herself again. I was like, oh my gosh, the struggle. She was going through it. But to go through that with her, I was excited for my appointments because her and she made me feel comfortable. We made each other feel comfortable throughout this process. It was just awesome. It was so awesome. So as I'm going through the retrieval process, guys, let me tell you, the side effects of that medication hit me tenfold. I was feeling everything. And unfortunately, at the time, I was going through an unexplained health issue for myself. I was going through a lot of pains that I have no idea what it was, where it was coming from. I have been to numerous doctor's appointments, everything like that, and nobody can figure it out. All my tests and everything is coming back normal. When I'm telling you, I've been to allergist, a cardiologist, a neurologist. I've been to like every single doctor to try to figure out what this thing is, and nobody can figure it out. Everything I've done MRIs of the brain, of the neck, of the spine, and everybody is just like, ain't nothing wrong with you. So I don't, so I kind of resulted to like unexplained inflammation. So when I was taking those meds and then having that inflammation, and I'm telling you, the pain was here in my chest. Sometimes I feel tingling in my arms. It was insane. And to then go through IVF as well and all of those meds, can you imagine how my how my side effects were? It were a whirlwind. I was like, oh my gosh, I am feeling everything. Like I was feeling everything, So the Ghana F, I was feeling it. The Menopur, oh my gosh, not only was it burning here, but the way my body reacted to it. The moment I realized, okay, my life needs a change. But I was just like, you know what? Let me just get through this and go with the flow. So my follicles were growing great. I had like 10 on one side and then 12 on the other. And then they were just growing. Like they were they were growing a lot, and they were growing quickly. So, she kept me updated every single appointment. I didn't have to fight or anything for this information, which I love. Very communicative. And literally when it came down to the actual retrieval now, I got the call that my appointment was on November 25th of 2019. And I was like, great. They said you have to come in the day before because, we want to do one last check and we want to make sure everything is good. And of course, I had to do my trigger. So not only was I getting all of the instructions for the retrieval itself, prepared me for my trigger test. They like, you have to take your trigger. And guess what? I had family that came into town, and we had went into the city. I'm in New York. So I'm in New York. So we had went into the city. I had to take them out. So they had no clue I was going through this process. And I had shots in my purse to take. It was, oh my gosh. I mean, we all go through that. We have stuff to do. We just got to do what we got to do. Run into bathrooms. We got to do what we got to do. We came back from the city in time before we went to hang out with them. It was time for me to take my trigger, and I was home. So we made it back home here in my house. And then right after that, I took my trigger. I said, guys, give me 1 second. I went in a room, I took my trigger, made sure I was good, and literally went right back out. So the kind of night just ended up flowing. I didn't really feel anything as much because my mind wasn't really on it. My mind was completely off of it, enjoying it. I went to a barbecue, I was hanging, I was doing my thing. The next day came, I had to go to my appointment to do my last appointment before my retrieval. Guys, when I tell you, this is the part of the story that I told you that something happened, and I could thank God to this day. My husband and I drove all the way down Long Island because that's where the office is, the main office, to do the retrieval and all the procedures, the OR, everything. And on our way back, now it was a little bit of a rainy day, but on our way back, we were driving and the highway wasn't that bad, and it was a Sunday, and literally the back of his wheel just gave out. It just gave out. And we literally just spun 360 in the middle of the highway. We hit the barricade on the right-hand side, bounced right back. The car literally bounced us right back into the middle of traffic where an 18-wheeler was coming, but thank God we pushed past it so quickly that the 18-wheeler would happen to just pass us straight. And I am just literally holding on, watching my life flash before my eyes. And we end up on the other side, and this is gonna make me a little bit emotional. We end up on the other side of the highway in the HOV lane, and I am just like, oh my God. And I'm not gonna lie to you guys, when I got into that car from the appointment, and I'm like I said, I'm very spiritual, so I was just like, you know what, God, please get us home safe. Let us not get into any accident. And I always pray, no matter where I go, everywhere I go, always ask for covering. So I always say, God, please let us get there safe, get home safe. Let us not get into any accidents with anybody. Let us not let us hit nobody, or anybody hit us. So I just prayed a clean prayer of just pure safety and pure covering. And to know that there was literally the cars that we almost came in contact with was able to just maneuver past us and we were untouched. Oh my God. I completely thank God till this day just for saving our life. Because I literally just said to myself, wow, my husband and I almost just lost our life. This is the day before our retrieval, where we are looking to start a family together, and here we are almost about to die. Like, how is that even possible? So I'm sorry. So literally we made it on the other side safe. I'm so serious. The car was honestly barely, it was just mainly the front because of how the impact hit on the right side and how we just spun out and ended up on the other side. Now the car was manual. So with manual cars, you have to know how you're in control. So you have to know how to maneuver the car. And thank God for my husband. Like I said, he's a great driver. So he knew how to maneuver the car to the point where, we landed safely. We didn't even had any major impact on the HOV lane or anything like that to the middle barricade, nothing. So it was literally a blessing, such a blessing. And I thank God every single day till this day that we are alive, and we can move forward with this process and just, it's a story to tell. It's crazy because that was not what, you don't expect yourself to go through something like that, but wow. Tow truck and everything came, the cops came, they said, are you guys all right? We said, yeah, we're fine. We were literally both unharmed. It was just more of like a shocker to the both of us. We were just like, what just happened? Car was rear wheel, so he attached it to the tow truck, and then we ended up getting dropped somewhere where we had to take, and you guys may not know Long Island Railroad. If you're in New York, you'll know what the Long Island Railroad is. We had to take the Long Island Railroad back home. That day was a Sunday, so it was early morning. I was planning to go to church right after, and guess what? Even though I was late to church, I went to church because I said, that right there, listen, thank God. that right there is more of a reason where I should not miss church. That I would not let that trauma stop me from going in and thanking God for the fact that we are alive here today. My husband and I got ready and we went to church. And, you know, we thank God wholeheartedly for being here today. You know, so the next day came, we ended up, because we didn't really have a car, we ended up traveling to my retrieval. So, I mean, the retrieval was still on. There's nothing I could do. So we end up traveling to the retrieval and then taking an Uber from the train, because the train dropped us maybe like 10 minutes away from the facility, and we took an Uber or a Lyft to get us there. We got there. At that point, I started to feel a lot of cramping, because I guess that's when the trigger started to kick in. I mean, with everything that was going on, with the adrenaline rush from the day before and everything like that, I probably didn't realize I felt anything at all. It wasn't that bad, but it felt like a lot of cramping. It was when I reached, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna feel out of this in any moment. Got there, waited a little bit, we got called in. My husband sat with me, we spoke to the anesthesiologist. Ironic story again. The anesthesiologist actually me and my husband went to the same high school. We're a couple years apart, like 4 years apart, he's older. So the school we went to, the anesthesiologist, but years before, because he's an older guy, went to the same high school. So what were we talking about while he was sticking the IV in me? He was like, oh, you guys went to this, you know, the school we went to was Martin Van Buren. You guys went to Martin Van Buren? And we was like, yeah. And we're just having this full-blown conversation about how it was when he went and where we went. And he was like, was it the same? And we were like, well, pretty much, but different times. And I mean, it was awesome. He made us feel so comfortable. And my husband is very outgoing and outspoken, so he was just already involved in the conversation. So they told us that, okay, so once they were preparing me to go in, they told my husband he could go sit outside. By the time he comes back in, you'll already be like in your bed eating a snack, like just recovering, eating a snack. I got into the OR and the anesthesiologist was, you know, talking to me, making me feel comfortable. The OR was really cold. I get to take videos. There's so much going on in my head. I was laying on the bed, or, you know, the operating bed, and the anesthesiologist was like, oh, so what did you do this past summer? I was like, oh, I went on a vacation. I went on a cruise, which we did. And he said, where did you go? So I told him, I said, the cruise was designed for Puerto Rico, Nassau, Bahamas, St. Thomas, St. Martin, so 4 stops. But at the time, Puerto Rico had an unrest. So he's like, oh, so you guys didn't end up stopping at Puerto Rico? I said, no, because, you know, Puerto Rico was going through a protest, an unrest at the time. So we didn't get this. Literally just like that. I don't know what happened. I just remember waking up and I'm in the bed in the recovery. I said, what happened? Like, in the middle of talking about Puerto Rico, I realized that now I'm back in recovery. I'm like, wow, that's crazy. The doctor came to me and he told me, he said, well, guess what? We retrieved 24 eggs. I was like, wow, 24 eggs from me? I was like, this is insane. I mean, I knew that I had a lot going on each side, you know, but I didn't know it was gonna be that much. I was like, 24, that is awesome. That is so, so awesome. And you guys know, if you're going through retrieval as well, your husband, you know, goes as well, gives the semen, and, you know, that's when they do everything all at once. So they got 24 eggs from me, and they, of course, they started the process right away for fertilization. Recovery time, I was already eating my snack. Like I said, the nurses and them were so cool. They were so nice. And they told me, my husband came in and he met with me. He was like, you know, how are you feeling? I said, I'm feeling okay. I'm just, you know, have some pains. And they told me, they said, you may see some spotting. You may be in pain for a while. Just take it easy. Everything is gonna be just fine. But if you see anything, you know, if you realize the pains are not going away after a while, you know, call us. Please don't be afraid to call us and let us know what's going on. So I said, perfect, no problem. That was fine by me. Got the call a couple days later that 18 of them were good, were viable, and they fertilized with my husband's sperm, and then 12 of them made it to day 5. So the 12 of them that made it to day 5 was on their way off to PGS testing. Now, let me tell y'all something. PGS testing. It is so bittersweet in terms of cost, because I was excited to have 12 embryos that was on their way to genetic testing. Was I happy about how much it cost me per embryo and how much it turned out to have 12? No. But it is a blessing. It is a blessing. So that's it for this video, guys. Part 3 is me preparing to do my first round of my frozen embryo transfer, what transpired, what happened between the course of after my retrieval and me getting to that first round of transfer. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Of course, if you do, please like, comment, and subscribe. There is so much more where this came from. Thank you guys for watching. Bye.